It's not so much what I heard in the Republican convention when you heard John speak last night, or not so much what I heard when I heard part of what the governor had to say, the vice presidential candidate. It's what I didn't hear. The silence of the Republican Party was deafening. It was deafening on jobs, on health care, on environment, on all the things that matter to the people in the neighborhoods I grew up in. Deafening.
For being a prisoner of war, I'm going to tell it like it is. McCain arrived in October of 1967, and so I was there 2.5 years before he was. So John has allowed, I think, the media to make him out to be the POW, the hero, and in fact there were over 600 just like him who performed just as well. The data show that the prisoner of war group are dying at an earlier age, and that we suffer lots of residual things that non-POW group really doesn't have to deal with. And it's imperative that we have someone who is healthy and can stand the rigors of that job. And everybody coming up to me and say, "Hey, you knew John McCain. What do you think of him?" Well, most of my experience with him was living across the hall from him, and he was well known by his own classmates and everybody that knew him as a very volatile guy, and he would blow up and go off like a Roman candle at any possible time. He was very sensitive and touchy and just easy to anger. The world is such a dangerous place, and he has shown himself already to be bellicose with regard to making other wars in other places, in Iraq and threatening Iran. And John McCain is not somebody that I would like to see with his finger near the red button.
I know these are tough times for many of you. You're worried about Please. My friends, my dear friends, please don't be diverted by the ground noise and the static.
Just be courteous, that's all. All you got to do is be courteous. That's all. All right, I'm going to call on these young men, just one of you. All right? And remember what I made a promise to you, but that means also I want you to give the mic back after you ask your question or make your comment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So my question is, in the face of the numerous attacks that are made against the African community or the black community by the same U.S. government that you aspire to lead, and we're talking about attacks like the subprime mortgage that you spoke of, that wasn't just a general, ambiguous kind of phenomenon, but a phenomenon that targeted the African community and Latino community. Attacks like the killing of Sean Bell by the New York Police Department and Javon Dawson right here in St. Petersburg by the St. Pete Police, and the Jena 6 and Hurricane Katrina, and the list goes on. In the face of all these attacks that are clearly being made on the African community, why is it that you have not had the ability to not one time speak to the interests and even speak on behalf of the oppressed and exploited African community or black community in this country?
All right. Well, I guess. Hold on a second, everybody. I want everybody to be respectful. That's why we're having a town hall meeting. There's democracy at work. And he asked a legitimate question, so I want to give him an answer. I think you're misinformed about when you say not one time. Every issue that you've spoken about, I actually did speak out on. When it came to, hold on. I'm going to go through the very specific examples. I've been talking about predatory lending for the last 2 years in the United States Senate and worked to pass legislation to prevent it when I was in the state legislature. And I have repeatedly said that many of the predatory loans that were made in the mortgage system did target African American and Latino communities. I've said that repeatedly. Number two, Gina Six. I was the first candidate to get out there and say this is wrong, there's an injustice that's been done, and we need to change it. That's number two. When Sean Bell got shot, I put out a statement immediately saying this is a problem. So I'm sorry. Wait. Don't start. Hold on. Don't start. Shouting back. I'm just answering your question. What I'm suggesting is that on each of these issues that you mentioned, I have spoken out. And I've spoken out forcefully. And listen, I was a civil rights lawyer. I passed, hold on a second. Hold on. I passed the first racial profiling legislation in Illinois. I passed some of the toughest death penalty reform legislation in Illinois. So these are issues I've worked on for decades. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to always satisfy the way you guys want these issues framed, and I understand it. Which gives you the option of voting for somebody else. It gives you the option to run for office yourself. But those are all options.
I was mayor of my hometown. And since our opponents in this presidential election seem to look down on that experience, let me explain to them what the job involves. A small town mayor is sort of like a community organizer, except that you have actual responsibilities.
This is very curious. So this is work I did 3 years ago. They haven't talked about the fact that I was a civil rights lawyer. They haven't talked about the fact that I taught constitutional law. They haven't talked about my work in the state legislature, the United States Senate. They're talking about the 3 years of work that I did right out of college, as if I'm making the leap from 2 or 3 years out of college into the presidency. So, look, I would argue that doing work in the community to try to create jobs, to bring people together, to rejuvenate communities that had fallen on hard times, to set up job training programs in areas that had been hard hit when the steel plants closed, that's relevant only in understanding where I'm coming from, who I believe in, who I'm fighting for, and why I'm in this race. And the question I have for them is, why would that kind of work be ridiculous? Who are they fighting for? What are they advocating for? Do they think that the lives of those folks who are struggling each and every day, that working with them to try to improve their lives is somehow not relevant to the presidency? I think maybe that's the problem. That's part of why they're out of touch and they don't get it, because they haven't spent much time working on behalf of those folks.